for you guys that I thought was very powerful. Mark Hansen's the guy that co-authored Chicken Soup is Good for the Soul. And he actually, say that again? Mark Victor Hansen. How does he get two last names? Or is that Victor's middle name? Mark Victor Hansen. So now I'm Delbert Murray Rounds. Because obviously the guy's really successful. And I'll tell you one thing with him. So you've heard, and I heard Darren Hardy say this the other day, and he said when you meet people, act like your puppy when he meets you at the door. You know, like, right?
So you listen to Darren Hardy every day?
Darren Hardy, yes.
It's a great motivational. It doesn't always apply, but it's fabulous and everybody should listen
Yeah,
to
so you
it.
heard the same thing.
Yeah, I listen to it almost every day. Some days I miss.
So meeting Mark Victor Hansen, it was the same thing. I mean, Terry, what was his energy level at that meeting?
Well, it's always like that, but also, here's a guy who's written and published and sold billions of books, and he's taking notes at this meeting, like everything Del would say or I'd say something, and he's writing it down.
Well, because the story's been crazy about our marketplace, right? I mean, if you go back to, like 92 and study our market, it's absolutely fascinating of what's transpired, right? The gyrations, the ups, the downs, I mean, absolutely incredible. So it was fun getting and picking his brain. All right, so we got some couple of announcements. On your seat, so everybody always asks me, and it's usually last minute, oh my gosh, how do I prepare for a listing appointment, right? And it drives me bananas. So, is Keith here today?
He's right up front.
Keith, I want to make sure that this is a PDF file of the video that's going to go out so everybody has this. This is from our CEO, Adam Contos, and he talks about us against the industry, right? I would highlight this and bring this up as part of my marketing presentation personally, so that's going to be a PDF, right? So send that out. And right there is us against the industry, right? So you want to discuss this in your listing presentation. Your listing presentation does not happen overnight. There's a reason why we give this. And I'm okay with the panic call, right? Oh, I got a listing appointment tomorrow. I haven't had one in 3 months. I need fresh data, right? I'm okay with that. Continue to do that if you need it. But build it now, right? And then I thought this was great. It's kind of all the world's flags, right? And then about how big we are. And then don't forget to tell them about that we sell a house every 30 seconds, guy. That's powerful. 68 offices in the Valley, 36 right here in Metro Phoenix. All that is very powerful stuff. So you build your listing presentation a week at a time, right? And then it becomes you. In addition to this, I'll send my outline, unbranded outline of what I do on a listing presentation. So you get that as an additional PDF attached to this video. Tom Ferry, I'll come back to that. That's going to be at the end. Birthday Friday is Friday, June 28th. It'll be at the main office. We celebrate everybody's birthday. Camp Advantage will regroup in July, and we'll send out the date. So Camp Advantage is
this Wednesday. Tomorrow it's still in session.
Okay. So does that mean, what does it mean, regroup in July?
Well, because I'll talk about it. I'm out of town for a couple weeks.
Okay. All right. And July there is no sales meeting, right? You guys know that's the only month of the year that we don't have a sales meeting. Well, and December because we have our holiday party.
July and December.
Okay.
March is our awards banquet. July because everybody's on vacation, and December is our holiday party.
All right. So there will not be any business development in July either. I got a couple of trips planned. And then we got some new agents in the house. Don Melvin with the Van Dyke team. Is he here today? She. Don. D-O-N-D-A-W-N. Don Melvin, she. Steve. Oh.
Good luck.
Yeah. Okay. Verdalza.
Sure.
Steve Verdalza. That's a big one. V-U-R. Okay, David, here you go. V-U-R-D-E-L-J-A. Verdalza. Very good. Kim Earnhardt, is she here? No, Kim's not here. Nick Thomas here. Hopefully they're getting the text messages. Who got text messages this morning? Okay, listen guys, if you did not get a text message, keep your hand up. I want you to write them down right now, please. Keep your hand up if you did not. Okay, so all the Dirks group?
Yes.
Rick, keep your hand up.
We have you on the list.
Okay, listen guys, this is a big deal. It costs an agent $800 to not be on our text stream. So allegedly, I sent out a text that wasn't even my cell number. It was some 480 number that said, hey, I need some help. I have some friends. Their kids are in the hospital. Please go grab me 4 gift cards. Guys, I did not ask somebody in this room to go get me 4 gift cards. But listen, I hear about these scams all the time. If you fall for one, and
Wish I'd have thought of that.
even when the individual was checking out, the person at the counter said, why are you buying these? You know, there's a scam going around. Yeah. Okay, so listen, guys, don't get caught up into that. There's all kinds of stuff going around. I'm not going to ask anybody in this room to buy me a gift card.
So what did you do to resolve that? Did you call them?
What can you do? I mean, I'm not going to change the world. What can you do?
Texted, emailed, I mean, we called every
Yeah.
single individual,
But-
we emailed everybody, and we texted everybody that we had in our system.
Listen, if my cell number is not in your phone,
We also sent out Sandy's, Dell's, and myself, we sent that out as well with all of our phone numbers and email addresses, so you know the correct number.
okay, the Dirk team. Uh-oh. So hey, this is a big deal. Bob and Melissa, stand up. They're part of the Dirks team, but you go by
The Regal team.
the Regal team. And why do you go by the Regal team?
Because every time that I talked to buyer's agents back at that time, they were so concerned about their name.
Yeah.
So one of the things that we did was, okay, Dirk's team, first and foremost, it'll never get pronounced right unless somebody knows Dirk Bentley. But other than that, it's always pronounced wrong. So we did it so that all of our agents could feel that their marketing was individual. So,
What if you run into a guy named Regal though?
God help him, he better have Regal on that plate.
Okay, so now you met Melissa Dirk. So this is a great story. She was with Remax Professional, went to Keller Williams, and now back to Remax. So welcome back.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah. And then her husband Bob and partner Bob.
Yep. So I was in corporate America for 20 some years and figured out one day, 2 years ago, that the stress level was through here. I traveled about 90% of the year. So she had a falling out with some agents. I was having a falling out with the company, so it worked.
Well, welcome. And then a buyer's agent, Darren Angel. Darren, stand up. Tell me about yourself. How long you been licensed? And you live in this zip code.
I live about 10 minutes down the street.
Okay.
So this feels like home.
Great.
And I've been at that golf course for years. I played professional golf.
Wait, what golf course?
Greyhawk.
Greyhawk. Okay.
I played professional golf for about 15 years and ran into some injury issues. Went and bought a house last year, and it was probably the worst experience I've ever dealt with. The agent was terrible. It was horrible, and I never wanted to have anybody go through that again.
Ooh.
So that's why I
you
got
decided
into
to get into the sector. What tour did you play on?
I've been all around the world.
So if you put Nike tour,
I've been on every name that it's been. Nike, Hogan, Web, Buy.com. I played in the Asian tour, I played in Europe, I played in the PGA tour, I played all of it.
So you got a negative handicap, like you a -2.
I was scratched when I was 14, so I don't even know what it
Did you
is.
go to high school here in town?
No, I'm from Los Angeles,
Okay.
but I went to ASU in the 90s.
Oh. Were you on the ASU golf team?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, we were national champions in 96,
What year was Mickelson there?
right before me. I went with his little brother,
Okay.
as
Yeah.
he likes to say.
And his little
Phil's my
brother's a
brother.
coach now, isn't he?
Actually, he's his caddy.
Okay.
He was the coach there, now he's Phil's captain.
So you guys can see I got kind of a passion around golf. Yeah, so welcome.
Thank you.
And
Darren,
you're not allowed to take him from the team, just saying.
well, that would
So we
be
can't take
illegal.
you out to the golf course.
I'm available for pro-ams and stuff, so I'm just saying.
Are you available for pro-ams or like do you have to? But you're a negative. You're like a -2.
I'm a 0, I don't have anything anymore.
Yeah. And then Brian Bolton, we want to welcome back Brian Bolton. He went on a sabbatical. What was the deal with Brian
He
Bolton?
just left for a few months. He was thinking about getting back into corporate America. He got there, decided that wasn't really what he wanted to do, so he came back to us.
All right. Okay, so welcome. The other agents that were not here, welcome. Come to the next sales meeting in August, not in July. You're up, Greg.
All right, thank you. So about 6 months ago, we had the Ritz-Carlton residents come in and kind of tell us what their brand new project is. We invited them to come back to give us an update. So Shannon, Suzanne and Carolyn.
Hi, thanks for having us, Greg. I'm Suzanne Black. I'm Carolyn Landon, and we appreciate coming back today and give you an update. For those of you who've driven by Lincoln and Scottsdale Road, you've probably seen a lot of construction going on, and if you haven't been by, please do drop by. Our residence gallery hours are 11 to 5. We do appreciate if you make appointments because our room is quite small and some of our buyers like to have their privacy. We're open by appointment on the weekends, but we wanted to show you a latest video of the villas. We range from 1 in a den, 1739 square feet, to 4 in a den, almost 5,000 square feet, and we start at 1.695 and go up to 5 million. And these are all going to be ready for move-in March 2020, which is amazing. It's not very far away. And the opening of the Ritz-Carlton Hotel will be the beginning of 2020. So we'll show you the update. Yeah. We have 450 citrus trees that are going to be imported here. This is our owner's clubhouse, 10,000 square feet, where we'll have our full concierge fitness facility, movement studio. We also have a full kitchen bar set up so that could be staffed by the hotel. All of our villas here have the services of 24-hour room service. Anybody that would like to walk your dog, Ritz-Carlton will do anything that's ethical and legal. So we're really excited. Anything you need service. Any kind of service. Valet parking. South Park is one entry on Lincoln, where there will be a brand new traffic light, and then there's another entry coming in the back on Scottsdale Road. These are some of our villas that are 4,400 square feet that are just shy of 5 million. We've got a lot of beautiful common areas. We have 3 posh pooch parks, so Ritz-Carlton's dog friendly. And you can see all the beautiful walking trails. These are 100% concrete construction, concrete floor, concrete ceiling. We also have concrete walls between our neighbors to minimize any kind of noise. We have sliding glass doors. They don't go into the concrete, but they do stack on one side. All of our patios have beautiful gas fireplaces. The gas is included in the HOA fees. And we're very excited. These ceilings are quite high. I don't know this ceiling height, but ours are 10 to 11. And we have beautiful fountains that will be illuminated at night. 6 feet wide, it's 18 inches deep. A lot of great seating areas for folks who want to mingle and meet their neighbors. And yeah, so it's going to be really nice.
So of the villa residences, there's 80 of them. 65 are under contract without contingencies. So we continue to be busy. We're not sure what your book of business is doing, but we are, we continue to be busy and anticipate being sold out by the fall. We're at a point now where some of these villa residences, we can sign waivers, grab hard hats, and do a site tour. So we are that far along with our progress. Most of this now you can see, like Carolyn mentioned, from Lincoln Drive.
How much is the HOA?
It'll range from 1,500 up to 2,800, depending on square footage. And like Carolyn mentioned, that includes the amenities, the services of the hotel. And it doesn't end at Paradise Valley. That's a worldwide benefit through the Ritz-Carlton Hotel.
Yeah, you become a member of the Ritz-Carlton VIP program, where you can travel to 97 different locations. They also have the new Ritz-Carlton yacht that you may have seen. So our homeowners can enjoy a lot of nice perks. They like to travel.
So as a matter of update, we also wanted to bring to your attention that we have softly released our estate homes. Now, those are the single-family residences on 3rd and half-acre lots. They're situated on Lincoln and Mockingbird. So CP Druid is our architect, and for those of you who aren't aware, CP Druid just won Home of the Year through the National Home Building Association. Brett Brimley will build those estate homes at the direction of Five Star Development. They're 5,500 square feet up to over 10,000 square feet. We begin in the low 5 millions. We'll go up to just a little over 11 million. Homes are appointed beautifully like the villa residences. So when you're hearing these numbers, it includes amazing fixture and finishes and lots of choices. So a lot of these folks have now gone through the design process and really have had a great experience. So we're hoping, if you have a client in mind that's not ready for condo living, but ready to simplify and have access to those services, we would love to share the story with you and your client.
So are these villas all 2-story, or are they 1-story?
They're one-level living, like a flat.
Okay.
And some of the buildings, as you saw in the video, are 2 levels, and some are 3 levels. So the penthouses we just call the top level.
Okay, and do they have elevators, or are they?
Yes.
Okay.
Elevators, so Suzanne and I are neighbors. An elevator comes from underground, stops on the 1st level, 2nd, or 3rd. So 6 people would share that one elevator, but there's many elevators scattered throughout.
So is the parking garage, is it a parking garage underneath?
Underneath, directly under your suite, we'll have 2 parking spaces. Some have 3 with a penthouse. We also have private garages for lease for anybody that is a car collector.
We have lots of those.
But yes, we invite you to come down and see us.
Yes,
So if you have any
and
other questions,
we can share these videos and actually the villa video as well as the estate home villa or
Yeah,
video
like
with
last
Greg.
And I have Carolyn and Suzanne's contact information, so if you need that, just please let me know. Actually, I'll give it to Keith, and Keith will send it out with the video as well today. So I have we got one more question, and we gotta get to
So you just have 15 left, is that what
Of the villa residences, we have the estate homes, and stay tuned for the Fendi
Fendi
branded residences that will be
we'll
coming.
be releasing those later this winter. And we have 41 residences. They're in the Pomeray shopping area. We failed to mention that we have 60 brand new shops and 15 awesome restaurants coming right on the corner of Lincoln and, Indian Bend and Scottsdale Road. And it's 160,000 square feet of retail, commercial, but our Pomeray will hold the Fendi residences. And they're
Are
gonna be
those
really
going to
nice.
be homes or villas?
They're condos.
They're condos.
It's going to be a 6-story building on the Scottsdale side. First level is Fendi Design, and then the next 5 levels are the residences. They're going to be very spacious. We have like a 10,000 square foot penthouse, a couple of those. So it's a different style of living. It's going to be pretty exciting.
Keep us in top of mind.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Okay, thank you.
All right, now everybody's favorite time of the day, Sandy Carpet.
Just 3 housekeeping things real quick. One great thing about what I do is I get to know everybody, and most of you I get to know personally. So congratulations to Julie. Tell them what's happening this weekend.
My oldest son is getting married.
Kareem, tell them what we're doing in 2 weeks.
We're having lunch in Croatia.
We're having lunch in Croatia. We've known each other 16, 17 years. We've never once had lunch ever in Scottsdale. But we're going to go to Croatia. Very excited. Very excited. Paul Baker. Everybody knows Paul Baker, right? Thursday, I will be gone for about 2.5 weeks, and Paul Baker will be acting broker.
Oh, nice.
So for those that don't know Paul comes with well over 30 experience in real estate. Although he thinks he doesn't know what he's doing, Paul is a wealth of information, a wealth of resource. So don't email me. You'll get an email today. You'll get another one on Thursday. I email, text, phone calls. Paul is your guy. okay? So thank you in advance.
You bet. I'll be sleeping with my phone on my pillow, so
Yeah.
feel free to call. But please, no lease purchases with an option to buy.
Perfect. And I'm just gonna say the word transaction desk. It's coming. If you haven't taken classes, take them. If you've taken one, you need to take another one. If you've taken two, probably take three. But start getting into transaction desk because before you know it, it's gonna get here and.
Can I say something else on that?
Yeah.
The third week of every month, Keith will start actually teaching transaction desk. So that we have our Tuesdays at 2, our jump start. That will be every third Tuesday. So we try to alternate each week. So between Keith and myself on teaching, that's his week. So just be heads up.
Okay, so you guys read The Voice, the Arizona Association of
Yes.
The Voice that comes out. There was a great article last month, and I have challenged all one of my broker friends to do what I'm about to do. Scott Drucker, who's the general counsel for AAR, wrote a great article. And I'm going to repeat the article because, boy, this was just the hammer hitting the head. It was so spot on. And Scott Drucker gets all the credit on this one. What he said basically, the name of the article is called "It's Just My 2 Cents." And he's just things that just bother him about why we do things in our industry. And I thought it was amazing. I challenged all my broker partners in the industry to do what I'm doing today is to reiterate this. So, in no special order, here's how it goes. This is called My 2 Cents from Scott Drucker. I can't understand why agents use the term on or before. For those of us that have been in business for a long time, that was a standard. But I'm telling you what's happening in the industry. We're saying closing should be, on or before May 2nd. And all of a sudden, in the middle of April, one party, buyer or seller, says, I'm ahead of schedule, got my house closed, everything's in good shape. I choose before. And the seller says, well, what do you mean you choose before? We're closing May 2nd. And the buyer says, no, we said on or before. I'm now choosing before. And even though 30 years ago this wasn't a problem, it's becoming a problem. Because we're writing the words on or before. Make sense? Just put a closing date. And if you get a 2 on or before, by mutual agreement between buyer and seller. What wasn't a problem 20, 30 years ago is becoming an industry problem. So just try to refrain from using.
Do it before your birthday.
Or before. Thank you, yes. So, but anyway, these are the things that Scott Drucker is seeing that are becoming a problem. So if it's getting to his level, it's all starting from the ground roots of our level. When writing a contract, stop looking for the as-is addendum. And I know we get it. I know we're writing contracts. I know we're receiving contracts to be sold as is. The words don't exist anymore. It means nothing. It doesn't mean anything. It doesn't exist. There is no such thing as an as-is addendum. The words, just get it out of your vocabulary. It doesn't mean anything. But when somebody, another agent, is writing the words, well, this price, the seller's going to do it as is. All they're really telling you is that the seller has no plans on making any repairs. Yeah. But that doesn't mean that you can't do your inspection. You can't ask the seller. And if the seller's not willing to do it, you can still cancel the deal and get your money back. It doesn't mean anything. So for those that are fairly new, as is at one time back in the day had a meaning. And what it was is you always had to identify what as is was. So in other words, I'm selling my house and I know the stove doesn't work. So I'm telling you right now, I'm selling this house, but the stove is being sold as is. I'm not doing anything to it. And the buyer had a right to determine what the as is. Was it just a wire that was burnt out? Was it needed a new stove? Or was it the electrical through the house, under the foundation? Once the buyer found out what the as is, then he had the right to determine if he still, is in the game or not. So as is, I see it a lot. And not so much that we're writing it, but I see that we're receiving it and a lot of our offers. So just inform our buyers and sellers, it has zero meaning. It doesn't mean nothing. Occupational license reciprocity is not the end of the world. Again, it's coming from Scott Drucker. So you guys know that the governor signed legislation that anything that requires anybody that has a state license, the state of Arizona is offering reciprocity to that state. So how it affects us is somebody comes from another state with a real estate license, and they've been in the business for at least 1 year. All they have to do is take a state exam, and they can get their Arizona license. They don't have to go through the 90 hours. They don't have to worry about Arizona's specific law when it comes to real estate. But they do have to take the state exam. There's a state section about state law. But Scott's, he got a lot of.
When does that take effect? I know it's 90 days after.
Yeah, so it's 90 days, this went into effect 90 days after the legislation closed, and it closed about a month ago or so, sometime in the fall.
Don't they have to establish Arizona residency too?
Yes.
I heard, yeah.
Yeah, maybe you're right.
That's correct. It can't be a second home. Right. You're absolutely right.
Okay, didn't know that.
Yeah,
It
because
doesn't really
the
affect
reason why
us.
he, so I was really turned off by this at first, and then I kind of started thinking about it. I mean, he's doing this because Arizona's really pro-growth, right? So if you think about it, what does that bring? Property taxes, housing values up, additional income streams, right? Is that your take, Scott Sell's take on it also?
Maybe.
But we're going to want your opinion on that, because it's fascinating, because it also applies, heritage streaming, think about anything with a license, right?
Attorneys, accountants, anybody needs a.
Well, attorneys is pretty easy, because you gotta take the bar anyway, the state bar. But, and doctors, same way, you still have state tests for state licensing. So, anyway, it's a fascinating subject, but it's very pro-growth, and there's a whole list of pros and cons.
Yeah, so but how it affects us every day, probably not, but just be aware.
Sandy, quick question,
Yeah.
was there any impact to the employing broker or brokers licensing, or is that still?
Just a sales license, as far as I know.
Just a sales license, you
Good
still
question.
have to go
As far as I know,
redo your
because you still have
full
to-
90?
Yeah.
I've
'Cause
done
I think
some
to get a
research
broker's
on it.
license, you have to have a certain amount of years and. take
Broker,
more
you
tests.
still have to go in and do all your hours. It's not like that. So
Okay,
if
good.
you're a broker in another state, you still have to do the broker's hours here, because I actually looked up on that.
Okay.
But you also gotta be licensed for so long before you can.
3 years.
Anyway, I just find this stuff that's pretty interesting. I'm no expert, but I really question whether an ostrich could be considered a comfort animal. Think about this. This is getting to his level, the top guy who advises us from a legal standpoint, right? We're all doing it. We see leases all day long. You don't understand there's a difference between a disability animal and a comfort animal or an assisted animal. And here's something interesting. What the law says is that if somebody has an assisted animal or a disability, that's considered a disability, you can't turn it down for a rental, correct? We all understand that. If the disability is obvious, somebody can't see or they can't walk, and I mean, it's pretty obvious, we are not allowed to ask what their disability is because it's pretty obvious. If it's not very obvious, then you have a right to ask. I suggest just don't ask. just get you into trouble. But a comfort animal is very different, right? A comfort animal could be an ostrich, it could be a snake, it could be a pot-bellied pig. We've all experienced these stories over the years. So, but there is something that's interesting. So here's a realistic case. So we all know that we can't turn down a comfort animal, and we all know that we can't charge a pet deposit because they're not considered pets. Somebody walks in in a house and they give you, let's assume it's legit. They give you the legitimate papers, it's totally legitimate, and they have 2 cats. And the owner says, well, I don't want to have cats because I'm allergic to cats. And eventually when I take my house back in 2 years, I got to replace the carpeting, the window coverings, got to paint, maybe my furniture. So where's their rights? And there is something now in legislation that says if a owner can show a hardship, the owner has the right to say no to a comfort animal. I will tell you that if you get into that scenario, just call me. Don't take it upon yourself to, it's a cat and mouse game, no pun intended, but it's a cat and mouse game where there's one angle, there's another angle. I'm a big believer that those that know how to break the law know how to break the law better than those that play by the rules. And my example has always been, and I won't ask the question, you don't have to raise your hand, but if you have, has anybody ever spent the night in jail? Right? Here's why I ask this question. Right? Especially for older people. I will tell you that if I ask you if you went to jail, what are your rights? And most of us would say, well, I get a glass of water, a piece of bread, and a phone call. And we would say that because that's all the movies we saw growing up as kids, that's what they got. But you know who knows what their rights are? Are the people that are criminals that go to the jail system. They know the laws better than law-abiding citizens. So if somebody's going to scam, like the scam with the cards, you know, I mean, they're called artists. Bullshit artists or scam artists, but they're called artists because they're very good at what they do. Right? So if you get that situation, we'll just take it on a one-by-one basis.
In other words, they got experience.
Your example with the person with the allergies and the cats and all that, this sounds really sneaky, but couldn't they just deny the tenant for other reasons? And
Sure,
say,
of course
well, I'm
they
not
can.
comfortable with your credit.
Just gotta
or
be
your
careful.
income."
Gotta be careful.
Yeah.
Ed will tell you this for the last 35 years he's been doing this. You gotta be careful because, well, your credit score is not, Lee comes along and she's got a client whose credit score is worse than yours, but she doesn't have a pet. Well, all of a sudden, now what's the problem? You
Yeah,
just
but
have
how
to
would
be
they know?
consistent. You just have to be consistent.
Do we have the right to ask them if their animal, their comfort animal or assisted animal is registered?
They don't have to be registered, they have to have a certificate. A certificate from a healthcare provider.
Okay.
Not a doctor, a healthcare provider. Yeah.
I wanted to rent to somebody, but their dog was, the HOA had a pound limit. However, the dog was a retired police dog. And I wanted to fight for that.
I don't know.
The HOA.
HOAs are a whole different ballgame.
Well, see, and then it takes it off of you and puts it on the HOA.
Yeah, but
So then you have to stay with.
But HOA does not supersede federal law, doesn't see disability law, doesn't supersede, Disabilities Act, things like that. Anyway, yes, the buyer contingency addendum is a complicated form with a lot of information that requires attention. You gotta read it. There is so much going on in that one document. Sell it, didn't sell it, date, there's so much going on. You just have to read it.
And if you really read it, tons of loopholes in both directions.
We'll have
Use
a
them.
whole class on that one time.
We could talk about that.
Just read it. Don't just check a box and say this. You gotta read it. There's so much information going on in there. And Dell's right. There's so many loopholes, ways to play the system, ways to play the dates. It's complicated. You gotta read it. Arizona Realtors, this is Scott again, does not sell your data to Zillow. You know what they do? They give it to them for free. We won't talk about that today, but they don't sell your data to Zillow. We had that conversation. All right. Reading the voice, this is where it comes from, will be the most informative 10 minutes of your week. Just take a few minutes to read it. It's really good stuff. Really, when I practiced as an agent, I kind of read through it. And also I became this broker guy, and all of a sudden I said, I got to be one step ahead of the curve, and I really read it a lot. I got all the files on it. It's really, really good stuff.
Sandy,
So,
where did you say to find the voice?
you get it every month.
Yeah, it comes to you automatically.
From who?
From the association.
Arizona Association of Realtors.
All right, thanks.
It just came out this week, so should you,
Yeah.
if you haven't
What else do I
deleted
got?
it, it's in your mail.
If your list on the Binzer repairs is 4 pages, man, something's wrong. Right? We all get this stuff. It goes back to just informing our buyers, informing our sellers, whether it's a new house or not. You gotta pick and choose your battles. But if your Binzer is 4 pages, we all get it. I would suggest this, here's where I see a lot of ambiguity. You're gonna write a Binzer, I suggest that you put on a separate piece of paper, a Binzer attachment, and every item gets a line. Don't do this. This makes me crazy from a broker and from an agent. Sink stopper needs replacing, toilet bowl is not flushing, water spigot is leaking, the lights in the backyard. Every line, every item should get its own line item. And if you've got 15 items, then it'd be 15 lines. Because I'm gonna tell you, here's what happens a lot. Sellers miss it because they're reading it like a paragraph, not like a line item. Every item should have a line. And then when you do your walkthrough, every line has its own item. It's just easy to manage, it's easy to make the repairs, it's easy to answer to. I see it all the time. It was in there, it was tucked away in a 3-line paragraph. The water spigot on the front hose bib was leaking, and it was tucked in there, and people missed it, and all of a sudden this is becoming holdup, right? So just try to be clear about it, and I suggest one item, one line. And then when you respond to it, yes, we'll fix the water spigot, no, we won't fix the toilet, and it's clear and precise. I got a few more minutes here. Even though it's a fix and flip, the seller still knows information about the property. You guys, we all know that. Even if it's a limited spuds, and the spuds is really designed to protect the seller, not the buyer. So if we're doing the flips, they gotta fill out something. There's no reason why they shouldn't be doing that. I love this one. Don't put the lockbox on the side of the house, behind the trash, next to the cactus. I'm not sure exactly when it started, but I can tell you why it started. Back in the day, we used to put the lockbox on the front door. Remember that? And there used to be an old metal box. And the reason why we stopped doing it was because the box would bang against the door. We had a wooden front door, and it would chip the door. Then years changed. And so we used to take the lockbox and put it on the water spigot or on the side, gas meter. And then we came to these hard rubber boxes so it wouldn't bang up the door, but yet now we find the most obscure place to put this lockbox. And there's some issues out there with realtors. I sit on the Armless Rules Committee, and an issue came up recently about handicapped or disability agents that can't climb over the wall, through the trash, next to the cactus. So just make it accessible to some way.
Or wearing high heels.
Or high heels, right?
Think about also with the summer heat, how those boxes burn your hand when they're directly on the west side of the house.
Oh, yeah.
So give that
Yeah,
some
just
consideration too.
That's what I was doing.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I burned my hand.
2 minutes, 2 minutes?
No, you've already spent your 2 minutes.
Oh.
Remember what you told me yesterday?
If you've never met your DB, you really should. I'll leave it at that. If you haven't, we have a great company. We only have, one thing I can always say that the leadership knows every agent in this company. You know where to find us. We're accessible. And there's more if you want to come see me later on. But this is good stuff. Read this.
How does the broker get the yank?
All right, this is the exact words from Sandy Carpin yesterday afternoon. If I'm running long, you have my permission to yank me off. There you go. All right, so we are very fortunate today. We have Jim Thompson from the city of Scottsdale. He is the city manager, and he has a lot of information for us, and we have a very short time to do it, so Keith, you get out of the way so we can come up and speak. Thank you.
Yeah, that's a big deal.
Morning.
Morning.
All right, where we at? We'll get there. All right, so to go back to the question at hand, put me on the spot, and I said maybe. I never say maybe. Usually I give a definitive answer. It's just the way I am. It is what it is, so here it is. There's pros and cons to the licensing. Obviously, you may get somebody who's technically not at the level that we require in the state. They may have lesser rules in another state. They come over. Then you have simple supply and demand. And if you have too much supply of something, sometimes it impacts if you don't have the demand, and then you oversaturate the market, and then you actually have an economy that suffers because of that, because prices has to fall. That's the continuum associated with that graph. When you look at supply and demand, what varies is price. And so what you end up doing is driving down price, which then may drive down profit, which may drive down interest in that profession. And so there's good and bad to it. There's good things because it opens the door for more people to come here a lot easier than it was before. If they're in a certain profession, they can come into the marketplace. But if you look at the number of licenses and certificates issued by the state, it's a long list. Even a barber needs to have a license. So when you start to look at that, there's a long list of licenses. It just opens the door fairly large. It's good and it's bad. And so how does the city look at it? We look at it as there potentially is more business, but then again, sometimes more is not always better. And so we're cautious on that, so that's why I kind of said maybe. I have no idea where this part came from, so this is, we have another portion, I can talk about it. All right, so what do we got? There should be one that looks like, it has pretty pictures on it. There we go. Excellent. Thanks. They sent everything to you, so that's cool. The backup. I won't need the backup. All right. So first time in many, many years in the city of Scottsdale, I got all my 7 bosses to agree on something. Okay. And so on a bond. In particular, in the history of Scottsdale, we had a tendency to maybe get 5 of the 7, 6 of the 7 to agree, and then the one who didn't agree with the bond package would go out and fight against it. And so this is the first time we've had 7. Getting to 7 was very, very hard. So we started with about 800 million in projects. We ended up with 319. How'd you come up with 319, Jim? Well, basically it's better than 320. It's kind of like selling something for $9.99. It has psychological value to it. That's the 319 number. But even more so, anything less than 450 million meant property taxes go down. And I'm going to talk about that towards the end of the presentation. First, I'm going to talk about the projects and why it's the case. So it's November 5th. We're doing it by mail-in ballot. The county decides that. So the county said it's going to be an all mail-in ballot, which means turnout will probably be higher than traditionally it has. You'll get your ballot in mail and you'll have a chance to cast your vote. So they're all due by November 5th, and by November 5th we'll have the results, but you'll get your ballot prior to that date. So it's just good. Information-wise, you can go to the city's website, or we actually have one that's Scottsdale Vote is another website, and get the detail of every single project out there if you desire to know what's in the package. I'm going to walk through it. We have 3 questions. This was another challenge. I had some of my bosses wanting to do 9, some wanting to do 6, some wanting to do 1. I prefer 1, only because it's all about the community, not about or the southern portion or the central portion. We're all one. So what impacts one impacts the other, maybe directly or indirectly. But the more questions you have, the more likelihood that you won't have success. Because I'll just pick the projects that impact me. It's all about me, right? I woke up today and it's about me. And so I'm going to pick those. For us, so what you'll see in every one of these questions, we had to find categories. So 3 was kind of the negotiated settlement that I was able to do with all. And we broke it out into 3 areas: parks, recreation, senior centers. And it kind of works out really well. If you look at the numbers, 14 projects, it's 112.6 million, 20 projects in the middle at 112.3, and for community spaces and infrastructure and public safety and technology is 24 projects at 94.1 million. And I'm going to walk through all this. If you add all that up, it's 319 million. So 58 projects. So this one that's highlighted, it's no important than any of the others, but it's basically the picture. So that's why it's highlighted, kind of points to the picture, so that's a picture of the project. On the Parks and Rec, the 14 projects, purchase land, expand Pinnacle Peak. For those of you who have hiked Pinnacle Peak, you know the parking is a problem. Now, here's the fun part. It falls in another comment and discussion about other issues this morning, and maybe HOAs or otherwise. The neighborhood up there probably doesn't want to come and give us a group hug about this project, because that just means if we build parking, more people will come. No, the problem is people are coming, and there's not enough parking or parking in your neighborhood, and now you're getting mad about that. So there's no win, but we have to do something. We know it's a problem. We're going to add on to the restrooms and some other services up there, office space, and build parking. So that's the intent of that portion. Pinnacle Peak, it gets used almost as much as the entire preserve on a trailhead basis. So as we continue to improve it to the preserve, we'll get more going to Tom's Thumb and areas like that. Probably take a little bit away, unless our numbers just keep going up, which they tend to right now. So that's one. Add splash pad, walkways, McCormick Stillman. Our summer in the railroad park declines, and so we put a splash pad in. Hopefully we'll raise our numbers again, but it's a nice amenity to have. It was just voted the #1 park in the country. That's way cool. And so those of you who haven't done Christmas time on the railroad, we added a fast pass last year. And so we did the fast pass because our lines were 3-4 hours wait. We also expended the season to ride the Christmas train. So we're trying to do our best with that, but this is to add another amenity to that park. Replace tennis court, service Indian School Park, and the Scottsdale Tennis Center for those of you who play tennis or for clients who might desire to play tennis. Beautiful facilities, but we like to keep them resurfaced and quality, so that's what we're doing here. Many people will tell me when we've been out talking to neighborhoods, we want pickleball courts. Well, we're building a lot of pickleball courts. This is to resurface the tennis courts. In fact, we did away with some tennis courts. Tennis people wanted to shoot us, and the pickleball people loved us because we were in pickleball courts. So we're improving tennis courts as part of this. Expand Granite Reef Senior Center, Adult Daycare Center. We do not have one that's city operated. We're going to build one. And so we're adding on to the building to provide that level of service. As we all know, the baby boomers, we're up there, getting up there in age. I'm at the very tail end. Maybe I'm an X, I don't know. I'm lost, I'm confused. But that timeline, but when you look at that bracket right now is a big place that's underserved, and so we're adding some improvements. You'll also see it next at the Via Linda Center. We're adding on to that. And then building new swimming pool and replace existing pool at Cactus. Swimming pool demand continues to go up. May it be swim clubs, may it be the schools. They all utilize our pool system. And so we need to do improvements to the pools to stay up with that. Energy efficient lighting, for those of you involved in lighting, you know that there's good lighting and bad lighting. We still have some bad lighting, some old stuff, so we want to go to LEDs that are more focused. They don't have air lighting pollution that goes out to other fields. Replace aging buildings at Paiute Center, Indian School Park, Field 1 lighting, install solar heating, El Dorado. This is a dog park at Thompson Peak Park, so that'd be a 3-acre dog park. It's going to be a big dog park, but we're adding to that. That is the most popular issue right now that we're seeing in parks. When we go out and ask the community, they want a dog park, and I'm going to talk about that in a minute because I think it's a little comical sometimes when you talk about changing times and what you use it for. People think dog parks are real simple to build. They're not real simple to build, just because there's certain things that we have to do. We have to put in the grass, we have to put in the irrigation, we have to put in the cleanup portions of the thing. So, well, just put a fence up. Well, I wish it was that simple, but it's not. We have a lot of underground infrastructure that needs to occur, in particular water. Build multi-use fields in the area of Bell Road. This one was controversial, and I'll share why. All right, it's what we have going on up north. I've been here 2.5 years and started talking about it right when I got here because I don't like to ignore issues like fire pension and other things that are going to happen in 2024. 2/3 of the fire department can retire. It's not in here, but that's a big issue that we have to face. We can't keep ignoring it. But our problem up on, if you call it Westworld, but it's also the open. We park on state land right now. And so we have about 40,000 cars on our busiest day. All gets parked on state land. Well, what's happening to that state land? It's all getting sold. Where am I going to park 40,000 cars? I'm not. And so if I build a parking structure, it's about 110 million. Park half of it. So 220 million fixed problem. That's unreasonable. Can't expect that to happen, especially for 5 days out of the year. Makes no sense. So what we decided to do is we're going to build 14 fields. We're going to try to build, if it's approved, 14 fields for which we can use for about 358 days a year for soccer, football, lacrosse, all the sports that we don't have enough fields for to begin with. But then on the 5 or 6 days a year that we need parking, we're going to park on the fields. So we're going to double sand them so if it rains, it seeps through. And they're much more comfortable and soft and quality fields. So what we do is get double bang for the buck. So we're going to build some sport fields on or near Bell Road. There's a few different options we have up there, and we're in discussions with private entities, so I'm not going to get into the depths of that. The city also owns 79.8 acres across the street from Westworld on Bell Road that I would like to sell either all or a portion of it, depending on what we do with the parking solution. So once we fix the parking for both the open, Barrett Jackson also demands a lot, but the game plan is to activate Westworld in different ways than when we have in the past. In fact, we have a tournament coming up, a volleyball tournament, because the national finals for high school are in Phoenix, and we're going to actually have indoor sand volleyball at Westworld. We've never done that before, and that will bring visitors from all over the country into Westworld, so we're trying to activate it in the summer, but then also engage the community, so we're going to have more recreational events out there. But yeah, I wanted to talk about that because people get upset that the city shouldn't go and spend $40 million on parking up there. Well, if we don't, where's everyone going to park? That means those events go away. Those events go away. Our tourism money goes away. Our tourism money goes away. Your taxes are going to skyrocket. And I'll get to that in the last few slides and why. And I can really get going here too, so I can slow down, but I'm going to go real fast so I can get to this. 17-acre park. Here's the one, Ashler Hills at 74. So that's behind the Target. So if you drive north on Scottsdale Road, if you can see the Target because of the NOS and all the requirements we have in the setbacks and everything else, I get it. But it exists, and it exists for a reason. But when you get up there, you'll look behind that, we actually have 17 acres. 14 is buildable. The other 3 acres is not buildable. It's drainage and other issues associated with it. We went out and met with all the neighborhoods. What did they want? Pickleball court, dog park, and a small playground just for our grandkids to use. That's what they want on their 14 acres. Now there's other things that would like to have a community center, senior center, and all those other good things, but that's where we're starting with this one, is to get that park built. And then double the solar capacity at Appaloosa Library, which is also up on this end of town. Question 2. There's, again, 20 projects. Replace aging infrastructure at Civic Center Plaza. For those of you who've been out there, we had to take the bridge out. We actually had a deteriorating bridge. For those of you who drove under it in the last 5 or 6 years, you've probably seen these catch basins, which were catching pieces of concrete, not a good thing. So we said it's an emergency. We went ahead and took money from other pots, and we went ahead and started working on the bridge. But up above, right now, it's a clean slate. So we have a chance to do a whole new Civic Center Plaza. Why this is important, you'll see another question in here, 2nd Street, and some of the improvements in downtown area. What we'd love to do with the activity that's going on at Fashion Square, and for those of you who heard about Caesars coming in with their next project, and then with the squares too, and then South Bridge, which is going to be redeveloped, and then Museum Square, which is a project that we're trying to get through that will increase condos, apartments, and a couple more hotels downtown. Actually, there's 5 planned right now. And if all that happens, I want to be able to tie in all of that together and then utilize the canal that runs through there and start to improve that. You just know the portion now by Olive and Ivy in that area, and where we do some programming along there, but it's to really clean it up, but then tie it into Indian Bend Wash. You'll see in here there's monies for Indian Bend Wash as well. It's an 11-mile trail system that's way underutilized, and would love to do some improvements on that to activate it, but start tying all that stuff together. We have nothing that ties anything together. It's in little bits and pieces, but I would love to have that ability to do so. I think it's just, you tie Indian Bend Wash in all the way up to the preserve. You could ride a bike from Tempe Town Lake all the way up into the preserve and go mountain biking up there. And so that's the types of things we should be doing that we haven't done. And it brings in other people, and it brings in more people. Repair lakes, irrigation, that kind of falls into Indian Bend. And then renovate, modernize Stage 2 at the Scottsdale Performing Arts Center. So we're going to do some improvements to the performing arts if in fact the question's approved. Westworld Horse Barn, replace public access system at Westworld, replace Westworld Arena lights to reduce operating costs, but also if you look at the lights, many of our lights shine out. And so we have issues with that. So again, just want to make improvements to the lights to make them work right. Widen 94th Street at Westworld to improve access. Well, for those of you great hearts, put in 2 schools down there. And so now we have this whole issue that when we have our big events, Fair Jackson, we have the car show, even polo, we end up having challenges associated with bringing people on that. So we may even redo a new entry. It just depends on what we do with the fields and where we put the fields and what we're going to do out there. But I would like to make a grand entry to Westworld. You go up to Westworld now, you're not sure. If you enter on the north, it's like a side of a metal building. Really? It's Scottsdale, and that's what we get. Okay. The actual entrance is on the side of the building in the middle, but we never let anybody enter there.
Right.
So why have the entry there? Most people enter on the north. So we need to improve that entry so when you come in, it's like, wow, you want to be wowed. Now people ask me about the tent. The tent is staying for now. We used to talk about it every year. We haven't in the 2.5 I've been here, except for right when I got here. I'm not talking about it. We spend $60,000 a year on the tent. We make a few $100,000 a year on the tent. It's the only thing in the city that I make money on. That's it. Everything else costs us money. So why get rid of something that works? Well, I know some don't like it, the view or otherwise, but it works. So for now, I don't want to remove it because it will hamper us on 9 of our major events that we have. At this point. Expand Westworld. For those of you who've been in Westworld, the North Hall, or if you've ever been to Barrett Jackson, you know when you go to use the restrooms up on the north end, there's a line, 50 deep. And you got to go all the way through, all the way to the equestrian area, the dome area where the arena's at, and those restrooms are adequate. We have wash bays for horses up on the north end. We're going to take those out and expand the restroom in that. We actually have wash bays in the South Hall as well. And all of our equestrian events, they wash them in the South Bay. So there's no reason to have them up on the north. It was just when it was built that way. But for me to activate the center, I need something on that north end in the way of restrooms. So that's part of that. Install solar system at the North Courtyard campus, install more solar. So we got a few solar projects in here. This is our only road project per se that we put in. And that's the bridge on Thompson Peak. So as you head out towards EC Ranch, you go over Pima Road, you go from the 4-lane to 2-lane over that bridge. We want to expand it to 4-lane. And so that's in there. Open up that a little bit. And then build a parking structure in Old Town. I highlighted that of what we currently have. Perceived to reality. We can argue either side of this question. I have probably 9 studies laying on my desk over the last 15 years of parking in downtown. But with everything we have coming up in downtown, we need to address the parking at some point. So that's in here. Now the last one, public safety. Everybody usually gets excited about public safety. That usually gets approved. Everybody loves fire. They sometimes love police, depends if you're speeding or not, or if you have other issues. But outside of that, you tend to enjoy both of them. We added technology to it because the majority of our technology improvements are in police and fire. We have a very old, archaic dispatch system. And so for us to keep up with the times, we need to get the new technology into the cars. May or may not improve our response times, which are already excellent. But again, a good thing. So replace some outdated emergency response, modernize computer equipment, replace emergency power source. For us, everything's an exposure. I'm going to give you an example. When we do the open, it used to be simple. We just go out and secure the facility, right? Well, today, anyone who rents or has a line of sight of the golf course, we have to know who's in that room. So we go find out who's renting condos, who's renting appointment, and we need to know who they are. Because they have a line of sight to 1 million people on a Saturday, it's not a good thing. So our security levels at all of these, we have drones up in the area, we have cameras everywhere, so you're on camera, so behave, or not, but we'll know. But all of that stuff is part of some of the technologies we need to update. Replace I already mentioned the 911 system, replace a web management software, install fiber optic to reduce operating costs, just a lot of that. There are a few things where we want to make Civic Center Plaza downtown Wi-Fi accessible, so you can go down in Civic Center Plaza downtown and just hang out and have full Wi-Fi access. So there's some things like that in here that I think are very, very good. It's the next step of technology and where we're at. Replace dispatch equipment. There is a new fire station on Hayden and Loop 101. Everybody kind of has heard about what's going on Hayden and Loop 101. Nationwide bought up all that state land, largest state land sale in the history of the state. And so they're going to start probably construction here pretty quick. I had a meeting with them end of last week of where they're at. So it's not just nationwide. It's going to be multiple Class A buildings. There'll be some apartments mixed in. There'll be a hotel and some mixed use associated with that. Not a ton of retail, but enough retail to probably support that little area. They are going to widen Hayden. They got to do an underpass on Miller Road, so there's some other connections that will occur and major infrastructure improvements. The biggest one is on one of the washes. They're going to fix a lot of the wash problem, not only for their site, but all upstream and downstream associated.
Hayden and the 101 northwest corner, right?
That's correct.
Yeah, okay.
And it goes all the way over to Miller Road on the other side. Which everybody's saying, okay, Jim, Hayden turns into Miller at some point up north. Yeah, and there's a whole nother discussion on that. Yeah. I won't take credit or blame for that one, but not something we should do. Renovate Via Linda police substation, increase the bulletproof. We don't have bulletproof glass in all our police stations. So you can look at it two ways, but it's just not today's world. I mean, every morning you get up and somebody's doing something stupid somewhere. So
Like that
for
guy
us,
yesterday.
cool. And for us, I got to speed up. Implement an inventory control system with city technology, build a new fire station training facility. We're just going to add on, we're not going to build totally new, and renovate the Foothills Police Station to accommodate current staffing needs. We're pretty full. I just left there this morning. I had a meeting with a bunch of the officers, and they wanted to know about, pay systems and other stuff and evaluations and all this, the good things they care about. But it's been a couple hours there, and it is a crammed facility. I was trying to catch 2 shifts when they switched shifts in the morning, which makes my job interesting. And the last portion, renovate, expand Civic Center Jail. Everybody's like, really? Yeah, but we have to. Today's world, the jail is very important. We sometimes blow capacity in the jail, especially our busy weekends. When we have major events, we tend to get a lot of DUIs. And so we have a lot of visitors overnight until they sober up. Just is what it is again, right? I just say it. Replace the fire utility truck and build a fire station on 90th and Via Linda. What's real interesting, we do mutual aid. And with all the development that's going on in our neighbor's property, Salt River, and with them building like they are, they don't have adequate fire stations. And so we do a lot of mutual aid calls over there. Well, if we ever have a good amount of rain, what happens in Indian Bend Wash fills up, they release out of the canal at the same time, because the canal's overflowing, they release it all into Indian Bend, then it flows onto Hayden, and when it flows onto Hayden, now I can't respond in that area. And so then I have challenges associated with that. My response times drop dramatically, and so this will fix that problem. So we're still receptive to our community. Yes?
Isn't there supposed to be a fire station going on Indian Bend? Wasn't there a fire station supposed to go on Indian Bend?
Yeah, and that one's coming. They were on the last set of bonds, and so
Right.
it's just a matter of getting all the projects built.
Okay, so do you have any idea when that's going to be built? 'Cause I think that piece of property out there is empty right now. That's what it's waiting for.
Yeah, we just got the bid done, so that's probably going to start construction the first of the year.
Okay.
Yeah. So we'll be finally, that's the last project on the list of all of our projects. There's some cost overruns with it. We've tried to go in and reduce those costs back out because it was so late since we issued the last set of bonds. But yes, that one's gonna get built. And then fiscal impact, the only thing that's really major is you look down here, it's about $107 a year. If this is improved on your taxes, which is $9 a month. So $1.50 and a half. It will cost you to do all these projects and all this cool stuff. But let me get to that in more detail here. All right, so the city's property tax, we have two portions. One's a primary tax and one's a secondary tax. The secondary tax is voter-approved debt. This number will never be a nickel with this bond approval because we're paying off the old debt. I'm going to show that in a minute. The other nickels are primary. That nickel does not generate me enough to even pay for fire, let alone police. We have some of the lowest taxes you're going to see here in a minute. So out of every dollar you pay in property tax on a home in Scottsdale, the city currently gets about 10 cents of that. In fact, it's dropping because our secondary is reducing. You could say the number went up or down, that's based on value. And so I won't even get into that discussion, but I love that one too. So, because I tell people I can fix their problem with the property tax going up. We haven't increased our property tax amount that we mill levy against you, your value's gone up, which is not a bad thing, but they say, well, I just don't like it, Jim. I say, okay, I'll announce I'm gonna build a wastewater treatment plant down the street from you and that will fix that problem. Your values will fall, your taxes will fall. Is that okay? No, that's not okay. So I can't help it that the market's strong right now. In recession, they argue on the opposite side of that. So, so here we're at. For us, not everybody has a primary property tax. There's a few cities that chose not to have a primary property tax, but they have a secondary. This is where we're at. We're at $1.452, as you've seen, a nickel and a nickel on this and a nickel on that of every dollar that's paid in property tax comes to the city, just 10 cents of it. But if you look at our neighbors, we're one of the lowest, even at $1.04. Our primary is very low and our secondary is extremely low in comparison to our neighbors. So when you think about the level of service we provide, is Glendale's level of service the same as ours? No, and in fact, they get more state share revenue than us, a whole nother discussion on sales tax. But we do a heck of a good job. Why is this the case? Because we get a lot of tourism. So I'm back to my parking question. I'm back to some of the other issues with that. If we lost, this would have to go up dramatically to provide the same level of service that we're able to today. I don't know of any cities that do pickups. When you clean, you usually have to call and pay for that service to go out and do your yard pickups. And we do all of that. It's all included. And so these are levels of service that other cities just don't provide. You call the fire department to grab a rattlesnake, they come. Most cities have done away with that practice.
Minutes.
Yeah. So again, we're really good about these types of levels of service. So for this money, that's pretty amazing. And we actually have the low sales tax too, so I wouldn't even go there. So anyhow, here's how it works. This is confusing, but you know, us finance guys, we gotta have charts. So your existing geo debt's getting paid off and it's falling down. If we issue the new debt, we'll never be as high as where we're at today. So even at the peak of this is the debt that's outstanding since it's been so long since we issued some, it's gonna pay off. Now you say, well, Jim, if we didn't do the bonds, then we're gonna have zero at the end of the day. Yeah, that nickel would go away on your secondary. But in this case, you're gonna be about 3.5 cents on your secondary as we go forward into the future versus 5 cents. So you're actually gonna have a cost savings plus be able to build all these cool projects. And why you have a cost savings at a nickel now, the others pay off. We're gonna issue debt over time to do these projects. It will never grow higher than what it is today. In fact, it'll grow back to about 3.5 cents, stay stagnant there for a bit, then fall off. So
Because you're gonna stagger the projects?
We're gonna stagger them, we have to. I can't go build 319 million worth of projects in one day, just don't have the capacity. Plus there's a whole bunch of discussion on when do you do it. Normally you build public projects in the downturn of the economy because you stimulate the economy and your debt issuance is less. That's the best time to build it. We're on the upside of the economy, so right now commodities are ridiculously expensive. And so it's more expensive to do it now. Your interest rates are higher, even though they're starting to fall a little bit on the municipal lending side. So it's a little more costly to do it today, but you don't want to wait because we never want to see a downturn in the economy, but it happens. Everything's cyclical. You all know it in the profession you're in. So here's kind of a different depiction of the same thing, existing debt. And when we issue new debt, we'll basically meet, but then we fall off as well. So again, get a build 319 million. Our break even at this point to keep this number here and keep it was 450 million. By doing 319, you actually see the fall off. So if we were asking to issue 450, this would stay pretty constant to the nickel. We're not, 3.19, so you drop down to 3.5 cents on the formula. And that's it, those are the numbers, that's all I got for you. But
You're driving on the 101 north,
North,
and
okay.
you get off at Pima Princess Drive.
Right.
So you're getting off the freeway and you want to go onto Pima Road going north. And then there's
Then you got the lighting traffic and all
and then you
that
got
stuff going
that
on.
piece of land there. Is there anything you talked about, and that's just
All of that land,
section.
all of that land along the 101 from Frank Lloyd Wright around is all state land. And so state land will make a determination of when to sell. They sold the big chunk to Nationwide. They were originally going to do a lease, then they changed to a sale, and that there's a long discussion regarding that. So they like to do land leases as well. On the south side of the 101, just a little bit further down, those parcels are starting to sell. The last one was sold to an apartment developer for $1.5 million an acre. And that's on Scottsdale, that's a apartment complex that went in. And so it's very valuable land. So it's whenever the state decides to sell it, it'll fill in. Now, keep in mind going up Scottsdale Road, we get in trouble for this all the time. Go up Scottsdale, on the left is Phoenix. North of the 101, on the right is Scottsdale, or on the east or west, okay, and so depending if you're going north or south, right, and I'll just gotta clarify. Some people say, well, it's my right, Jim, I don't know what east, west, nor south is, but truly, that'd be your side. East side, Scottsdale, that side, so we have the road widened, but Phoenix hasn't done any improvements on theirs yet. That's all state land. Years ago, it was gonna be a mall. What happened?
Yeah.
The neighbors came out and said, oh my God, no mall by us, and so where'd the mall go? A few miles down. And then most people up north go to that mall a few miles down, and so we lose out on sales tax when that happens. Sadly, we don't have the money rolling in to pay the bills then. They go give it to Phoenix, and Phoenix gets a bunch of money to do things that they tend not to do, obvious by 101 and Scottsdale. But eventually, that state land's gonna sell off as well. And when that sells off, we don't know what it is. We have no destiny. We can't go and say, you need to do large setbacks, you need to do the NOAS area, the natural preserve areas, and have the setbacks like you have in Scottsdale Road. They could build apartments 100 and 200 feet tall all the way down Scottsdale, and we will get killed on our side. And we'll get abused, and we'll get beat up, and we'll be told we're not doing our jobs and all that other good stuff. But we do not control what happens on the other side. And I share that because that's a huge chunk of state ground. And most likely would be sold to development on the housing side, which is good for all of you. You have the opportunity to sell it, but then again, it may not be good for everybody in the community. We find, like with all our projects, every time we go to do something, it tends to be a neighborhood issue. We'll have 50 or 100 people, or maybe 150 show up at a council meeting and say, no, we don't like that. But then it's hard because you have to sit there and say, I got 150 mad people sitting in front of me, but I have 250,000 people we serve. What are the other 249,850 think? And are they really not showing up because they don't care, or they really support it? And so you have to balance those equations when you try to allow projects to come in. But on the other end, it's Arizona. And so property rights are very big here. I have a right to build something. The city can't just say no. Neighborhoods would love for us to say no. I have mine, I don't want anything built there. In fact, with Nationwide, that was the issue. We had people show up and they were worried about the coyote migration and other things that occurred on that piece of state land, right along the 101. And we had to deal with that. And we had to address their concerns, and we had to be cognizant of that. So it took a little bit longer than it probably should have. But we're very receptive to receiving that input, and we try to react to it as best we possibly can. So that's part of it. When you look at that state land developing, state land's going to go out and try to get the highest dollar they possibly can for it, so it may or may not be something that the neighborhoods accept, and that's a balancing act at the end of the day. So we don't control the destiny of those developments. So hopefully the state will decide to sell it. When they do, it's going to be very, very valuable. And Nationwide's probably one of the few agencies out there, insurance companies, there's REITs and other things that have a big enough dollar amount to buy down big chunks. Otherwise, it's going to be sold in smaller parcels, and then you'll have a hodgepodge of development that may or may not be in the best interest of the future. I'm going to go here and then there. Yes?
How did a massive swath of land that's truly Phoenix get to use the name Scottsdale?
Just like everybody else, Salt River Project uses Scottsdale, PV uses Scottsdale. All of our branding to experience Scottsdale is Scottsdale. So when you go anywhere else, you hear the word Scottsdale, but all of them can use it. In fact, some of them have a Scottsdale mailing address. if you go down Frank Lloyd Wright and change his names, but as you progress into Phoenix, you go a few miles into Phoenix and they still have Scottsdale mailing addresses. So even though they're not in Scottsdale, they have a right to use it, they use it. We did not, it's not like government where we go out and put a trademark on it or some other things. And so we're a public agency, therefore it could be used by the public. So a lot of people can use our name. And that's the problem we run into.
Last question. Over here.
Yeah, on the previous discussion, what you were just talking about as far as property rights and things like that, there was a fire station that was built around 80th and Cactus, that area, and it backed up to a luxury home. So the backyard is right next to it. It caused, generated that humming sound in the back, and it really created a problem to sell that house. So is there, you're talking about technology, is there something that they can start to do to lower the sound of that so that it doesn't hinder the neighborhood?
Yeah, the humming was probably, what I'm thinking is the backup generator or generator. There should be no other humming.
It's a humming, it is constant. And so
Yeah,
it affected the backyard.
and it could have been something else. I don't know if they contacted us to go see if it was a power, a transformer, a bad transformer. Normally, we don't have humming on any of our buildings or noises like that. Maybe that was something, before, but if it still exists, I can go find out why it exists, because normally we don't have a humming noise. The only thing that could do that, like I said, is a transformer going bad or otherwise. Most of our fire stations, we have to keep quiet, because firefighters work 24-hour shifts, and so when they go to sleep, they need to be able to sleep, because they may be called at 2 a.m., 3 a.m., 2:30, 4 a.m., you never know. So when you sleep, it's kind of odd. And I share that for the profession of police and fire. I do ride-alongs and know my staff and try to know their jobs well. I've done every one of their jobs over my span of career, and changed filters in a manhole, which is like an interesting job that never want to do it, trust me, but it's different. But police and fire, the odd thing is that at any moment you can get a call. So what do you think about? To me, it's like your own personal needs. You may have to go to the restroom and you get a call. And now you're an hour and a half into this call and you couldn't go to the rest. So their jobs are very demanding in different ways than what we normally might think of, let alone the issues that they walk into somebody's home and you have different things going on. So we want to make it as quiet and peaceful as we possibly can. So having a humming noise there to me just throws me off. But I'll find out if it still exists and go take a look. Yeah, because normally we shouldn't have any of that. It could be even the lights sometimes. Small noise, but we shouldn't have any humming coming out. I don't think of anything.
That helps every cell phone.
Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of people don't like the fire station or police station because the moment they got a call, the sirens go off and then they leave the station. But they're pretty cognizant of that as well. They don't light it up until they get a little bit down the street, and then they turn it on if they're in neighborhoods. So.
All right. Well, thank you so much. So we have to say thank you to Paul Baker. Paul is actually the one that suggested Jim, so thank you so much.
I can tell you that SAR, our Government Affairs Committee, and the board have met with Jim and reviewed this, and we are coming out publicly in full support of all three questions.
All right. Wow. Thank you. All right. Our preferred vendors. Julie.
Okay.
Julie LaRaza, Stewart Title.
Jacqueline Payne, CNN Mortgage.
Allie Jennings, Asiatic Inspections.
Jill Wright, Chicago Title.
Good morning, Rebecca Neesey, Allstate Insurance.
Good morning, Wendy Crappiolo, Intermediate.
Betty Jen Ballard, Fidelity Title.
Good morning, Julia Walker, Fairway Independent Mortgage.
Troy Peterson, Fidelity Title.
Kara Carter, Over Public Home Warranty.
Hi everyone, Dennis Knopfler, Horizon Inspection Service.
All right, we have a few updates for the building. So we are moving forward. I know everybody's thinking we really want to get in there. We really want to get in there. We're getting closer and closer to having our internet set up in there. We have the fiber optics that look like they're run, but there's some issues that we need to have on Cox's side for us to be able to actually start getting that in there. Once we start doing that, we will start moving teams and individuals over to the new buildings. So we're really excited about trying to get everyone over there, but we just want to make sure that we can support you first before we put you in there. And for this meeting, I know we have a lot of new agents and everything like that. if you come to this meeting, you can park anywhere that you want that is not covered. All right, so as long as it's not covered, you can park there. There's a couple on the other side that actually have it painted in front of their building that has the name of their business. Do not park there either. All right, so there's plenty of parking out in the back. Don't forget, we don't have a July meeting, but we will have one in August. Del, you're up.
I just gave 2 minutes to Paul.
Guys,
Paul Baker, you're up.
Linda, Antonio, and myself have all been through the SAR Leadership Academy. And if you're into cool stuff, behind the scenes stuff with the city of Scottsdale, you really ought to apply for this program. It's 8 consecutive weeks, and we get the behind the scenes with fire and police. We dress up like firemen and put out fires. We go 80 feet in the air on a ladder truck. We get to meet with the governor, or excuse me, the mayor and all kinds of city council members. We meet with the executives of Honor Health and Mayo. It's an amazing program and well worth your time, but you do need to turn in an application. You can go on SAR online. You can talk to me. You can call SAR. It's an application and a modest fee, but so well worth your time. The talking points you'll take away are amazing, and it's July 8th is the deadline to apply. So thank you.
Yeah.
All right.
Absolutely. All right, so I'm going to get into lead gen. I was debating between motivation or lead gen. I'm going to go with lead gen. So last night, well, not last night, yesterday about 3 o'clock, as you guys know, I always get expireds and cancels, and I just start from the top. And my first call was a 403 number, right? So out of state, right? I look at it and it said vacant on the MLS. So as you guys know, one of the things that I really push hard on is call, text, email, door knock. Call, text, email, door knock. Call, because you don't know which one they're gonna show traction on, right? So I call, get voicemail. So then I send the guy a text, and I'm gonna show you the text, right? He hits me back because I say, hey, it's vacant, would you consider property management? And he hit me back immediately and said, yes, Toscano is $3,200 a year, right? $3,200 a year. They charge 15%, but they might do like 1 week rentals and that kind of stuff. And I said, wow, I know, I hear the door knocking.
They're putting something up on the other wall.
No, that's the humming sound. So I said, wow, that sounds high, right? And I'm having this whole exchange with the guy. He didn't answer his phone, but he answered a text, all right? The second one was right over here in Silverleaf. And I call, leave a voicemail, send a text, and then on this one I got to email. Now on that one, the one prior to that, they answered the text. This one I got to email.
How'd you get an email?
We can get emails. We can get emails. So that come to business planning. Who asked that?
Me.
David.
Come to business planning, and I'll explain that.
I know, I just keep my mouth.
Come to business planning. All right, so on this next one, Silverleaf, 2.2 million, and I send a voicemail, text, email, and she immediately emails back, and she says,
Somebody answer the door.
They're hanging pictures on this wall right over
oh,
here.
fuck, I just lost it. All right, so hang on. So I sent her a text that said, yeah, thanks, Mary, an email. Because I got to tell you, because everybody always asks me, does it work? Do you get calls back? Yes, I do, both, right? All right, so I sent her, oh, I'm not going to be able to do it, that's right. Okay, so Lena and I have a very expensive listing in Silverleaf that they would do a trade. So I said, hey, would you and Robert consider a trade on this house? She sent me a text back, right here, that says, thanks for considering us. We're not interested in this size of home, right? So then I emailed her back, right? So now we got engagement. So what I'm throwing out at you guys, if you do those 4 things, call, text, email, door knock. Call, text, email, door knock. Now, the city manager's right here. My understanding is if I got a product that I can deliver on the spot in the city of Scottsdale, what I do is real estate services, we're allowed to door knock. Is that right?
That's correct.
Okay. So you guys always ask me these questions, right? So if you have a product that you can deliver on the spot, which I can't because I'm a real estate agent, you can door knock in the city of Scottsdale. All right, now, so I sent her a text back. Well, are you staying in Arizona or are you downsizing? Haven't heard back from her yet. But But I'm letting you guys know that those 4 things really do work. So if you can just take a half hour a day, yeah.
So you asked him a very important question about the door knocking.
Yeah.
But what if there's a sign on the door that says no
You
solicitation?
shouldn't do it. I mean, respect their privacy.
Okay, well, that usually, I always do,
And now
but,
you've crossed the line. Secondarily, the HOA may have a rule against it as well, especially in the gated area, so you have to be cognizant of all those things. But as far as the city, we have no rule against it.
okay.
So as I'm
Thank you.
handcuffed, Jim said I could do this. Jim said I could do this. I'm joking.
I just wanted clarification.
Text and emails.
I just wanted clarifications, Dell, that's all.
Yeah. All right. So as you guys know, I'm always going to be the guy that's challenging you, right? To just go just a little bit harder, a little bit deeper. Raise your hand if you know one millionaire that didn't work nights, weekends, and holidays. It's Antonio. You know one?
A lot of people, they just inherited it.
All right, that made their own money. So I appreciate what you guys do, and I know it's extremely difficult to get people to decisions, and that's why you guys make the big dollars and have a chance. Nobody's putting the glass ceiling on you guys in here, right? I mean, go out there and really work it. It's the greatest profession in the world. It's one of the last professions we have left in true capitalism. Nobody's telling you what to do, when to do it, and how to do it. It's awesome. Well, yes, you got the ADRE and Sandy. But in general, guys, we got everything right here. So anyway, I challenge you, call, text, door knock, email. Call, text, door knock, email. It really does work. And you don't know which portion of that's going to get them, right? I would bet the people from Silverleaf, I would bet they're 55 or older. I think this guy in Canada who responded to text, I bet he's 35 and younger. So you don't know what media is going to work. So we didn't get to Mark Victor Hansen, but we will next time because you guys are going to hear that name a lot. He lives right here in 100 Hills, and he co-authored "Chicken Soup is Good for the Soul," and so we're going to hear a lot about him. He's got great energy. All right, you can close it up.
All right, everybody, go out and get them. Thank you so much. See you in